is ahead in the Maharashtra election? Is it an election that is impossible to forecast? Will local issues prevail or will the Modi factor prevail? Is it Modi versus the rest or is this a contest too close to call? I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo Story. In a moment from now, we'll be looking at the findings of a new pre-poll survey, a survey led by Lokniti-CSDS in partnership with MIT-SOG. The survey has some very, very interesting results, but mostly reconfirms the whispers in political corridors these days, which are basically nobody knows what's going to happen in Maharashtra. A contest that initially was considered to be advantage Uddhav Thackeray in the India bloc is now considered an actual contest. In fact, nobody wants to take any chances or make any predictions after the BJP's surprise unexpected win in the state of Haryana. What happens in Maharashtra will have a direct bearing not just on national politics but also on politics within the BJP. And so it is a critical assembly election, especially since it comes just a few months after the BJP coalition took a knock and a big knock in the Lok Sabha elections. Will the pattern of the general elections hold or will the assembly elections be very different? To try and make sense of what's happening in Maharashtra, let me welcome our newsmaker today. Professor Sanjay Kumar is with us. Sanjay Kumar is, of course, with the CSDS, and we're going to be looking at his survey findings in just a moment. Let me start by asking you, right after the Lok Sabha election results, it looked as if, it was the Thackerays and the Congress, the India bloc as it was called, or it is called, that had the advantage. A few months later, have things changed? Has it become more competitive? And if it has, what has made the difference?
Barkha, I don't think that there has been any major change between the Lok Sabha elections and the things stand as of now. But I think we need to look at the Lok Sabha election results more carefully than we tend to do. We only try and look at the number of seats won by the two alliances, and there is a huge difference between the two number of seats won by two alliances. And if we conclude by the number of seats won by Maharashtra Vikas Aghadi that this alliance is far ahead compared to the other, because they have won larger number of seats compared to the Mahayuti, I think that we would be not looking at the right picture, because you look at the vote share estimates of the two alliances in the Lok Sabha elections. And if you look at the vote shares of the two alliances, they are almost neck to neck with a less than 1% difference between the vote share of two alliances. What happens is that sometimes the vote share conversion of vote share into seats is very, very tricky. And it happened recently in Haryana, also in Himachal a few months ago or a couple of years ago. So I think not much has changed between Lok Sabha elections and now. But I think even in the Lok Sabha election, the vote share of the two alliances was neck to neck, which is an indication that the two alliances are actually facing a tough contest on the ground.
That's very interesting. But in our first past the post system, the vote shares can be close, but it's the seat conversion that matters, right? So when you say that we should have looked at the Lok Sabha elections in a somewhat different manner than we did, what does that close vote share tell you? Because after all, it's the ability to convert the vote share into seats that determines who's the winner.
No, why I wanted to bring this to the viewer, because sometimes with a similar number of votes, you can get larger number of seats. So the point I'm trying to say is that if I look at which alliance is stronger as of now, I don't get a sense that Maha Vikas Aghadi is much stronger compared to Mahayuti. Just going by, see, there are two indicators. How do you figure out which alliance or which party is strong on the ground? There could be two indicators. One, you look at the past performance of the same alliance or the political party. If I look at the past performance, I don't get a sense that Maha Vikas Aghadi is far ahead compared to Mahayuti, because I am looking at the vote share estimate, and I know that vote share can get translated into seats in different ways. And that is why I say the past electoral verdict does not give me a sense that Maharashtra Vikas Aghadi is far ahead. Second, if you don't have access to, or if you are not convinced that the past electoral results gives you a clear indication, then you do a poll. You go to the ground. Whether you do a poll or not, that's a different story. But we also did a pre-poll survey. Even in that survey, I got a sense that the two alliances are neck to neck when it comes to popular support base on the ground. That is why my own sense is that as of now, as on today, there is not much of a difference. I can't say for sure that Alliance A is ahead of Alliance B or vice versa.
So let's start with the one finding in your pre-poll survey that does have a clear lead to one of the opposition leaders, and that is when you ask about who is the most popular choice for chief minister. Now, here we actually find that Uddhav Thackeray is very clearly in the lead, followed by Eknath Shinde, and only then Devendra Fadnavis, and then Sharad Pawar. The numbers are, of course, on the screen at this moment. Now, do you think, given these numbers, the opposition in Maharashtra is making a mistake by not declaring Uddhav Thackeray to be a chief ministerial contender? That said, the other side, the BJP Shinde coalition, has also not declared Mr. Shinde to be a contender. I was interviewing a leader of his party, and she said, but he is our chief minister. And Devendra Fadnavis was very cryptic, asked recently, who is the chief ministerial contender? He pointed to Eknath Shinde and he said, our CM is sitting here. But that's not the same as actually declaring a CM contender, right? So explain these numbers on the screen. Uddhav Thackeray is the most preferred choice for chief minister. That doesn't necessarily mean that his alliance is as ahead as he is. But should the opposition be looking at declaring him a CM candidate?
See, if you go by the numbers from the survey, it is very clear that Uddhav Thackeray is the most popular face of the most popular choice of the people of Maharashtra as the CM. But you look at Eknath Shinde is number 2 and Devendra Fadnavis is number 3. I think the big point why none of the alliance have been able to declare anyone as their chief ministerial candidate. This is a very unique kind of an political contest going on in Maharashtra. While all the alliance partner want the alliance to do well, their alliance partner to do well, because if the alliance partner doesn't do well, they would not be able to form the government. They will not be able to win election. But at the same time, I think it's a tricky situation. None of the alliance partner want their alliance partner to do much better compared to their own party, because if that happens, so it's a double kind of a contest going on. First, the main target is you have to defeat the other alliance. But at the same time, you have to make sure that your party performs much better compared to your alliance partner. Because if that doesn't happen, then you would be conceding the claim of the chief ministerial position to your alliance partner. So a different kind of a contest. And that is why I think none of the alliance partners are finding it easy to declare XYZ as the chief ministerial candidate, because the fear is, suppose if Maha Vikas Aghadi declares Uddhav Thackeray as the chief ministerial candidate, then the party cadre of the Congress and NCP Sharad Pawar, they would have little motivation to work for their own party, etc., because they would know well in advance that we are not going to get the chief ministerial position. So very strange kind of a contest going on in Maharashtra.
Now, if you look at some of the other findings of your survey, it's also very confusing because I think you said that 1 in every 5 voters were satisfied with the performance of the Shinde government. This is despite the fact that most of those surveyed also said that corruption has increased, unemployment and inflation are the main causes of concern. But if you look at these numbers, 41% said that they were somewhat satisfied. More people were somewhat satisfied than they were dissatisfied. I think that's the big story that's coming out of Maharashtra in this survey. Explain that finding.
I would look at the two extreme responses. Fully satisfied 20% and fully dissatisfied is 18%. The clear indication is that if I look at the evaluation of the work done by the Shinde government, how people evaluate, the opinion is divided almost half-half. Because somewhat satisfied also includes those who may be somewhat dissatisfied. So that those are the middling categories doesn't tell you the full story. The full story comes out from the two extreme, 20% fully satisfied and almost similar proportion of voters fully dissatisfied. So a clear kind of a divided opinion of the people when it comes to evaluating the Shinde government during last 2.5 years.
Yeah. So, given this mixed bag, do you find some of the responses contradictory? Because corruption has increased, not dramatically. Basically, what your survey seems to show is that nobody finds a dramatic difference in the performances of the two alliances. That's one. But they do say corruption has increased, but yet they say they're somewhat satisfied. So there are more people satisfied and fully satisfied than they are dissatisfied. So that means that there is no great anger against the Eknath Shinde government.
Absolutely. There is no great anger against the Eknath Shinde government. At the same time, there is no massive satisfaction, massive endorsement of the work done by the Shinde government. But to your basic question, is there a contradiction? There's no contradiction, because when people are actually evaluating the work done by the Shinde government, it is not just on one parameter. If we ask, how do you evaluate Shinde's government on issue of handling corruption, then the government rating will go down. But when the government doesn't do only one work, the government does several kinds of work. People may be unhappy about one kind of work, clearly coming out on 2 or 3 accounts, which is about corruption, price rise, unemployment. But there are other factors on which people evaluate positively the work done by the Shinde government. And that is why you can see that half of the people are fully satisfied, and at the same time, more or less similar proportion of voters are fully dissatisfied. So there is no contradiction, and these are contradictions in minds of all of us. We may like some of the work done by a present government, but at the same time, same government, I may not like one or two work done by the same government.
Professor Sanjay Kumar, where is the Congress in this entire equation? And the reason I'm asking this question is, in the Lok Sabha elections, a lot of the perception was that there was sympathy for Uddhav Thackeray, that his party, his family's legacy had been taken away from him. But if you looked at the strike rate of the Congress was unexpectedly better than that of the Shiv Sena UBT, even though it didn't have a clear leadership phase. Where is the Congress in this whole equation in these assembly elections?
Barkha, you used the word unexpectedly. Congress performed very well. I think that if you look at the sheet sharing equation for the assembly election, the alliance partner also believed that it was unexpectedly Congress performed very well. Because if they had recognized, look at the situation, even their own alliance partner are not ready to recognize a very good performance by Congress party. Had they recognized that, Congress party should have been given larger number of seats to contest, which is not the case. There is a lot of contestation within the alliance partner, but as of today, it is believed that all the three alliance partners are going to contest almost equal number of seats. So yes, we all know Congress performed very well in the Lok Sabha election, but I don't think that the alliance partner are ready to recognize that. So the Congress situation is more or less equal as Uddhav Thackeray in the alliance or Sharad Pawar's NCP in the alliance. Congress is not playing a very predominant role within the alliance partner.
Now, you say that you don't find the voters very sharply leaning in favor of one or the other alliance, but you have given a slight edge to the MVA. You have given a slight edge to the opposition parties. Why is that?
Because if you look at different sections of voters, so Maharashtra Vikas Aghadi has a lead among, say, the Muslims, the Buddhists, the poor, and there are few other sections. Kunbi voters are equally divided. And if you look at the other voters, the Marathas, the upper class voters, and few others who are the Dalits, there is slight edge of Mahayuti among the Dalits, there is slight edge of Mahayuti among the Marathas, etc., etc. So if I look at how the caste community is playing out or how they intend to vote, because remember, this is a survey which was conducted even before the dates of Maharashtra Assembly elections were announced. So if I look at how the voters belonging to different social communities, whether it is caste, class, region, or age, so it gives a sense that at the start of the race, Maharashtra Vikas Aghadi had a slight edge, just a slight edge, 1.5%, 2%, not more than that. That's the sense we got when we did the survey in the last week of September and ending in the first week of October.
We have seen in previous assembly elections before the Lok Sabha that the Modi factor has been a big factor. But in Haryana, the Prime Minister did not campaign as much at the front line, and yet the BJP was able to take the state. In Maharashtra, do you feel that it's a highly localized election, or do you feel that national politics and national sort of contestations of, let's say, a Modi versus Rahul are also having an impact?
My own sense is that the Maharashtra election parties would try and keep it as local as possible. If the party tries to make it as a national election or national issues to dominate this election, that party would be very, very careful about doing that. My personal belief, my personal opinion is that this election is going to be far more local compared to what we have seen in the past or in other states. It is about Marathi Asmita. It is about who is the real, like the hire of the Bala Sahib Thackeray's legacy, etc., etc. So it is going to be a very local election. It is not going to be national issues are not going to play up in a big way in Maharashtra Assembly elections.
In the Lok Sabha elections, a number of BJP supporters were not happy with Ajit Pawar and his party being part of the BJP coalition. The point was made that these were parties that BJP workers had protested against. The Prime Minister himself had called out the corruption or the alleged corruption of Ajit Pawar. That equation has not changed. How do you see the Ajit Pawar factor playing out?
It's not only that the party workers were unhappy with Ajit Pawar. It's the voters were also not endorsing Ajit Pawar, and this is quite evident from the results of the Lok Sabha elections. Ended up winning just one seat. I don't think the equations have changed very much, but I think in the Maharashtra Assembly election, it is going to be very, very important for both the alliance partners that whosoever manages to keep the flock together, they would get an edge. If the alliance partners start blaming each other even before the election, if they start having a competition among themselves, that will not be very useful for the alliance partner. So yes, there are still anxieties about Ajit Pawar, but I think if Mahayuti has to do well in these elections, they will have to, calm down, make some adjustment about that. But the situation has not changed on the ground. Situation has not changed with regard to how BJP workers and the leaders look upon Ajit Pawar.
Eknath Shinde has tried a slew of welfare schemes targeted at the female voter, and they are counting on this to have a big impact. What does your survey find on welfare schemes?
If I don't even this survey findings, which is the case that if I look at the few schemes, there are few schemes which favors the Mahayuti Gathbandhan. But look at the entire narrative of welfare schemes, politics of welfare schemes over last 4 or 5 years. We have seen that whichever government brings about welfare schemes, the beneficiaries of those schemes tend to vote more in favor of the ruling party. But at the same time, it is important to mention to the viewer that not all the beneficiaries vote in favor of the government, neither all those who do not benefit vote against the government. You would find sections of voters among beneficiaries and non-beneficiaries, but overall, in all the states, whether it is a national election, state assembly election, we have seen elections after election that among the beneficiaries, the ruling party has an advantage. That's the case even among the Maharashtra, from the survey which we did almost about a month before elections.
So in conclusion, Maharashtra is right now too close to call.
Absolutely, I would say that at this moment, I think the alliances, the way alliances are going to be cohesive or not cohesive, how the independents, what we call vote katwa, how they are going to play out, that's going to be very, very important in this election. There are 6 major political parties which are contesting, 3 on one side, 3 on other side. And these, I would call this as oversized coalition. People within all the political parties would be unhappy if they don't get a chance to contest election, if they don't get a ticket to contest election. Some of them would be filing nomination as independent. Some of them would be, waging a proxy war against their own party, not war, but kind of what we call in
rebellion.
Vitarghat kar rahe. So I think that whichever alliance is able to manage the flock together better, that alliance will have a better chance. Because at this moment, it looks like as kind of a dead hit between the 2 alliance partners.
Well, it makes our job certainly more interesting, if complicated. Thank you, Sanjay ji. A fascinating survey. As they say, watch this space. Maharashtra is heading for a jigsaw election where every little piece will count. And arithmetic might count even more than chemistry. Thank you, sir. We'll talk to you again in the run-up to the elections. Thank you. Take care. Take care.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.